All right. So what I want to do today is just kind of go through the process of this magazine design. This is our last project. We got 3+ weeks, so it's not even going to be a thing, guys. Um, but again, I want you to kind of think about it, put some thought into it, work concepts and ideas. Um, but I'm going to go through it quickly today, just so you guys can kind of get a feel as to what it's going to be. So I'm going to start with InDesign. I'm going to show you kind of what we're doing with that. And it's going to be, and again, I'll get this up to you guys online. We're going to be doing an 8-page document. So I'm just going to do file new, and I'll explain what these pages are going to be as we get into it. Oops. New document. So I'm going to do just 8.5 by 11. That's perfectly fine. We're going to have facing pages, and we're going to have 8 pages total. 2 columns is fine. That's, again, this is up to you. You want 2, 3, you want 4. It's ever however you want to lay this out based upon what you've thought about and what your research has been. Um, and again, so I want you to take time and look at some magazines and see how they go. Let me just see. I got a new one in for AAA, and let me see what they're doing. They do some kind of work. They do like these 3 columns. There's a 3 column here. So it's basically 2, and this is kind of a little call out line. Let's see what else they got in here. They do kind of, they switch it up. Um, Again, here we have a 3 column article with some pictures. And again, that's a ad there too. Let me just find out. Financial report. Here's one that's a 2 column. Okay. So again, take a look at magazines. You can look at them, whatever you have sitting around the place, whatever you can find online. But take the time and do a little research on that. So I'm just going to keep it at 2 columns for now. I'm going to click OK to create this thing. Oh, my computer is being slow. Oh my gosh. Let's see what's going on. Did I crash? I'm gonna restart InDesign. Bear with me. It always sucks when your software doesn't want to work. Okay. So we've got total of 8 pages, and I'm going to zoom out just so you guys can see. So on this page, it's going to be the cover, and I will save this document, and I'll upload this to the website so you guys can see it. I'm not going to mess with it too much. And then over here, we're going to have Article 1. So that's first story, and it's going to continue on to the second page here. And then we're going to go down to the next pages. And we're going to be, this is article 2. And again, these aren't all going to be text. These are going to be text and pictures together. And we'll go through kind of article design on Thursday. Today we're going to work on the cover and just kind of go through aspects of what we find on a magazine cover. So I'm trying to make, oops. Like that one there, and then we're going to do this one as a second. Third article. Like that. Okay, so in total, we've got 8 pages. We're going to have a cover. We're going to have one article, again, that's pictures and images. A second article to pictures and images that goes out or lays out over 3 pages. And then the third one is a 2-page, but it's kind of a front page here. So it's kind of just kind of working differently. Some are spreads in a single, and then we have a single and a single. So just kind of getting used to kind of working a little bit differently with page layout as we start to go. So let me just save this as a sample. And I'm also going to just export it as a PDF. So I'll put it up twice. One is an InDesign file, and one is a PDF. The InDesign file should open if you have a font issue because you don't have this default font on your computer. Don't worry, remember it turns pink, but you don't need it anyway. It's just kind of a guide for you just to kind of start to figure out how you're going to start to lay these things out. Oops, what did I do? Okay. All right, so I want to work on a cover, and that's going to be the first page that I want to put in. Now, the cover itself is going to be basically one big picture. In my case, is what I'm kind of envisioning. And you're going to want to work that image up in either Photoshop and or Illustrator, again, depending on what you're kind of doing, right? If I'm doing an illustration type of thing, I'm probably obviously Illustrator. If I'm doing more photo-based stuff, it's going to be probably Photoshop or combination. So I'm going to work with Photoshop today. And things we're going to work through is kind of what the magazine, what it's called, and kind of the layout and such like that. So I started earlier with this image of the Earth. And this is an 8.5 by 11 document. So if your picture is not 8.5 by 11, you can kind of adjust in scale. This picture initially was like 12 by 12 scale. So I had to fit it in, but I was missing the top. And in this case, the top was just black, so it's space, so it's pretty easy just to kind of drop in black. And now I've got a full image that's the 8.5 by 11 that I want to work with for my magazine. Now, I'm going to be pretending this is a magazine. I'm going to base it on like Air and Space, like the Smithsonian or that kind of thing. So I'm just going to call this thing Air and Space for now. You can call your magazine anything you want. You can use an existing magazine, or you can make up your own magazine. And what we're going to do first is the masthead. And the masthead is the area, the titling that we typically find on a magazine. So in this case, this magazine, this masthead here says Westways. There's a logo up here, and it says Orange County because I guess it's the Orange County version. Let me see what else I got magazine here. We've got the aquarium one I've been looking at, right? We've been looking at this one. It's called Currents, Pacific Currents, and that's the masthead. So it's really the typography or the type of the title of the magazine. we're just going to kind of go through the magazine of things we're going to find on a magazine, and typically we'll find oftentimes on the cover of a magazine. Second here. And then this is obviously, everybody knows, National Geographic. And again, we got the masthead, which is the word National Geographic. Now, on their magazine, they do this goldenrod kind of border, which has become one of their trademarks. But just, again, another graphical element that, you can always kind of work in. It's kind of something else. Obviously, don't do that gold border because that is a copyrighted thing. So I want to first, and I'm in Photoshop, and I'm just going to work with the type on the masthead. And again, you could do this in Photoshop or Illustrator and bring it in. It doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to do all the other type. So in this case, we look at the West, all this other kind of copy. I'm going to do all of this in InDesign. Okay, so I'm not worried about the wording here. I'm just kind of worried about the picture and the masthead. That's really what I'm working with. So I'm going to call it air and space. I'm just going to kind of come in real quick and air. And I'm going to just real quick see where I'm going with that. I want to make it, in this case, I'm just going to make it white for now. And let me get my thing a little smaller. I'm going to look at my typeface. Where had that? I'm going to see if we can do something a little bit stronger real quick. Just kind of going to go through, find something. I don't want to spend 2 hours here looking for the right typeface, but of course you would, right? I mean, if a magazine's working on their masthead, titling for their magazine, they're going to spend a lot of time on it because this is something they're going to keep. Not something they're going to change out every issue. Okay. Most magazines are printed either monthly or kind of bi-monthly. So, 12 to 6 issues, but we also do find things that are like 4 issues, winter, spring, summer, fall, or we'll find something that's kind of like a 6 magazine. So there's fall, and there's early winter, and then there's spring, early summer, summer, and fall type of thing. So they're adding in an extra issue, but they're only dealing with about 6 of them or so. So sometimes they'll put them out every 2 months. But they're putting them out. If it's once a year, that's really not a magazine. I mean, you could do a magazine format, but magazines kind of have to have some kind of regular output. Let me just see here. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm going to use the same, my vision is there's the same font, and there's this other word, air, is kind of an ambersands. That's an ambersands. And they look pretty cool. And they come in different varieties with different fonts. And then I'm going to duplicate this again. And then again, I'm going to call this one space. And again, I'm just kind of laying it out real quick, just to kind of get a feel for it as I'm designing. What do I want to do? What do I want to have emphasis? And again, I haven't really worked too much with the weights of everything, but I'm going to just kind of select all 3 of those for now. And I want to make them a little larger just to go with. I'm just kind of grabbing the corner and moving it up. We'll go there. We're going to go big, just one for you guys so you guys can see a little bit better. And I want to line them up at this point. So I'm going to just click them all again. They're still clicked. And I'm going to go up here to alignments. Get past the zoomer thing. And the space one kind of held up in the line. Pull that down. Somehow reason it lined up with the bottom of the P. Let me get a guide drawn in. Again, I'm just reaching for my ruler, putting that in. That looks pretty good. We're pretty lined up there. At this point, I'm also going to look at the leading, that I should say the tracking on the typeface. So let me come back here and select the one that's going to select the air. And right now we're at 0. And if I zoom in, again, these are things we're going to be looking for. I want to look at that gap between letters. So here we have one gap, here we have another. So I want to kind of adjust that out. So I'm going to just kind of take it out. I want to track it out just a little bit. And that's a little better. That's at the 10. Maybe just a little more. We'll do 25 and see. That's pretty good. So I'm going to keep that there. Now the ampersand, I can pull this in a little bit because I've got this bowl on the ampersand. And in fact, I want to make the ampersand larger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the ampersand, and I'm going to look at the font choice I have. And I might want to make that a bit bolder. Okay, let me just see what else is in that type family. Got that Leucadia. And just see if there's anything else in there that might work. And again, now I'm just kind of clicking over, and it's going to be changing that ampersand as we go. That's pretty good still. I really like how it is. I'm going to keep it there. And I'm on the demi bowl, which is kind of making it a little bit bolder. And I'm going to do a Command T to bring it up, transform. I'm just going to scale a little bit. I want to kind of have this ampersand kind of coming above and below the baseline here of this. Kind of want this to tuck in as such. All right, and then I've got the space over here. Actually, let me just do something. And this is at 0, and I did this one at 25. So I want to get these consistent. So I'm going to do the track this out to 25 also. And then I want to pull this away a little bit from the ampersand. Let me zoom out a little bit to see how we're looking. We're pretty good. We are closer to this right border than the left. So at this point, I'm going to kind of pull them all together. And in fact, let me just do that first. And select all 3 of those. I'm going to just kind of right arrow or left arrow on the center a little bit more. I'm trying to get consistent between the left and right margins. Like that. And again, you can draw the margins in. I'm eyeballing it because I know I'm pretty good on that. Now, looking at this now, this was at a 25 for a tracking, and this is 25. But to me, it just feels like it's too much. It feels like there's too much gap in there. So I'm actually going to go back and change this one out. I'm going to just pull it back to here. Let's see what that is. I put it to a -10. So, I mean, this is a kind of a case in point where, because of the letter forms, you can see they're all kind of curved and they're not really touching. Over here, we've got these nice little serifs, and they're all kind of lining up. Well, here, there's nothing really kind of at the base to line up because of these curves. So I can tweak out and bring these items in a little bit more and still make it completely legible and not make it feel like it was a little bit too open. It felt like it was too open compared to the word air. So again, even though the numerically everything was perfect, this is where kind of, the designer comes into play, and you want to kind of look at things and go, that just doesn't look right. So I'm going to make a change to make it look right. So I'm going to pull this out just a little bit more. And now I've got too much gap on my left. So I'm going to select those all again. And again, I'm holding the shift key as I'm selecting. That's picking those layers out. And we are there. Now I want to make the the ampersand a different color. So I'm just going to kind of highlight that. And I'm going to go with, maybe I'll pick the blue. Let's see how that works. That's too much there. I want a bit of a pop. So picking off of there is not going to work. Off the moon, in this case, is not going to work. So maybe I'm just going to pick a color. I want to go something kind of fresh. And again, playing homage to the earth and the blue here with that. And then we think of sky as blue. So I think blue is a good choice here for that ampersand kind of color. So we're going to click that and call that pretty good for now. And let me start to save this again because we need to. Now, next in this picture, my vision is it's some kind of article on, like, living on the moon, right? So it's kind of like, what would it be like, or something like that. So I wanted to put a house on the moon. Again, I know this looks wonky and it doesn't look right. The proportion, the scale, all that kind of stuff. There's like every reason it's wrong, but I'm just kind of working with it here for you guys. So it's here, and the only thing that's really big bugging me is like there's like the perspective feels tweaked off too much. So I'm going to just come into transform. I'm going to just look and see what I got. I'm going to go to perspective. I just want to kind of play a little bit and see if I can get this to feel like it's a little better on the moon. I know it's not right? You wouldn't build a Chino Hills house on the moon, but whatever, it's there. So it's here. I in theory, I would kind of go through and make it a little bit more realistic with it. But for the sake of demo, we're just gonna call it a day. And there's the moon. Now, other things that we're gonna find on these covers, and this could be done here or it could be done in InDesign. Things we're gonna find is typically the edition. Is it May 2021? Is it, the spring, the summer issue? So there's some kind of edition, and typically you'll find it up here near the masthead. And then sometimes near the masthead, you're going to find some additional items or titles based upon what the magazine is about. So sometimes they will have a secondary titling. So a little example back here with the aquarium, the Pacific. So it says currents, and then it says below it, aquarium of the Pacific. So really the name of, in this case, the aquarium. Over here is the issue, spring 2021. So in this case, we're going to do air and space, and we're just going to say it's the Smithsonian that's doing it. And I'm going to want to do that here because I just feel like I want to make it tie in with this a little bit good. So I'm going to just do Smithsonian. And I'm going to scale that down. Again, you'll see a lot of times I'm just kind of scaling. I'm going visual. I'm not really worried about what the numbers are for, there's a 20 point or 12 point. Well, I mean, when we get to the body copy and laying out the magazine, at that point, I'm going to look at that number. How big is the typeface? How big is that font that I'm using? But for something like this to cover, I'm just I'm eyeballing it, right? I'm going by my designerly instincts to kind of get this thing in place. And I want this thing to kind of line up here with the end of the E. So I'm going to pull in a quick guide just to kind of see where I'm at. And at that point now I'm going to move that back over. I want that lining up. I'm going to pull that up a little bit. I don't want it touching the baseline here, but I want to kind of get it a little close. I want to kind of snug in there. I'm going to work with the edition elsewhere. Also, things you're going to find oftentimes on magazines, especially ones that go on newsstands, you're going to find a barcode on the front. Um, so like if you're at the magazine, looking at the magazines at the grocery store or such, you'll most times find that barcode on the front. So of course they can ring it up as they buy it. Let me just see if not. Now my National Geographic doesn't have a barcode um, because this is one that's sent by subscription. I think they have a different version with a barcode on it. They would have to because the store has to ring out the barcode. All right, any questions so far, guys? All right, so I'm going to say.
Sorry, just following along.
Okay, so I'm going to call this good. I know it's not perfect, but I'm going to call this good for my my cover for now. And I'm going to save it. So I've been saving it as a PSD where I have my layers going on. But to bring it into InDesign, I'm just going to keep it as a JPEG. It's fine. So I'm going to just do a save as and go to my JPEG. And we're going to save. And we get it max quality, which is fine. And OK. And that will have saved as a JPEG. And then I can bring this into my article. So I'm back into InDesign now. And we just did the cover. So I want to kind of bring that in. So I'm just going to delete that word cover. I'm going to just draw in my image box here. And again, we're just kind of putting this in. We're not worried about character or paragraphing styles because right now it's the cover. There's really not much there. It's going to be a picture. Command D to place it on in. And there it is, house, moon, JPEG. And look, fits right in there perfectly. Okay, so already we're off to the races. We got our cover. So again, we're going to have typically some kind of highlights of stories. What's going to be in this issue? I told you we're going to have the what issue is it? The May, June, summer, spring, whatever it is. So I'm going to just call it the summer edition. And I'm just going to do a text box, put this here. Summer 2021. And we'll come back here to my character. And we'll make that white. And we used something like picture. So I'm just going to look at something else here that might work along with it. Again, it doesn't necessarily always have to be the same typeface. It can be, it can't be. Again, you don't want to go too nuts and have 50 different typefaces. But as a cover, and I think you're allowed to have a little bit of freedom, a little bit of latitude. And I won't do that. That'll work for now. And that's at 12. I'm going to just bump that up just to 14. I want to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're at 14 there. Just resize. I just resize my boxes a lot just to kind of keeps it cleaned up as I'm starting to go around. Now I could put this here. I could put it here, but that's kind of like the balance off. Maybe just kind of floating up top here. I'm just kind of figuring out where I want this to be. Where is it going to be where it's you can see it, but it's not so obtuse that it's kind of distracting you and taking away from what you're trying to do. I think that might work, but I think it feels a little heavy. So I'm going to select that again. I'm going to just do a little bit typeface, not quite so dense. That one, it just was feeling dense to me. And just find something coming up. All right, so I think that might be, yeah, it's a little bit better for me. And I'm just gonna have it float up there. So you kind of have to go back and forth sometimes and just kind of see. I do want it at the top. I want it in the masthead area. Sometimes you'll find it at the bottom, along with the barcode, the issue number. But I just kind of like this one to be up here. Size that a little bit just to keeps it cleaner. All right, we're going to call that good for now. And then it's going to be a barcode. So I'm just going to do a box for a barcode. I'm going to put that about there. I'm going to give it a fill. Okay. And then oftentimes what we'll do in design is you'll see these called FPO. FPO stands for for positioning only, or for position only. It's just kind of a visual so you can kind of see and you kind of know. So I know as I'm going to start to lay out this text, I'm going to have this rectangle with the barcode in it. So I don't want to put anything in or near that barcode area as I'm working. Likewise, you'll see this sometimes when you're dealing with articles, when you're laying them out. Maybe you don't have the picture yet, but you're trying to lay it out. So you just drop in these kind of picture boxes just so you can visually see where a photograph will go and how that's going to relate to your text and so forth. So I'm going to just put FTO and I'm going to put UPC so I know that that's a UPC that I'm dealing with. Oops. And I'm just going to center, just trying to tidy it up there. So that's going to be here. It's just so I know I'm going to put a barcode in and I can find a new barcode off the internet, just like you guys did with your record albums type of thing. And then I'm going to put in the titles of the article. So the main article is going to be, home or living on the moon type of thing. So let's just do that. I'm just going to put I'm going to do living on the right here. I'm going to just get this into again a color that we can see. And we'll scale that up. And we're going to need to track that out a little bit because we see this T and the H. And I don't want that. So I'm going to pull that out a little bit. And I want to drop that leading down. I feel like it's a bit too much of a gap, but I got to wash the G and the H here. So I don't want them to be touching too much. So I'm just going to manually do that. Okay. And we've got that. We're just going to line this up in here for now. And then I'm going to do the moon down here. So it's going to be the moon. So don't be afraid to kind of break up your titles, your headlines. It's kind of done all the time, especially when you get to a cover, but also when you start to get into articles. If you want your title of your article, feel free to play with the letters and you can do them as different parts. That way you have more control over positioning and also dealing with the characteristics, the tracking, the leading, those kind of things. So you can manually do that. And I'm going to pull in that. And I want this to be, let me give that a yellow. And we'll do that as a metallic also. And now I'm going to do, I'm going to make this one line. Again, I'm just kind of working this. I'm trying to get things in position, seeing how they relate. Now, this is kind of a nice happy action. I like how the G kind of sits in between these two O's. Um, what's nice is it allows me to kind of push it up a little tighter, and lets it kind of snug in there, and it kind of like almost kind of connect it together from a visual standpoint. Okay, so we're oftentimes looking for these kind of, we'll call them happy accidents to come along, and that I think that one worked out really nicely. I'm going to just kind of turn off that. Let me just go to preview. Yeah, that's not too bad. Living on and on. It's kind of hanging out a little bit, but I'm going to live with that for now because I like how the G and the O's are connecting and kind of intertwining. Now, the cool thing about it is once I've have these and they're kind of nestled, I can always kind of play with them and move them up and scale them up a little bit more. Um, and it may change things a little bit, but I can come back in and just kind of put that together again. But I'm just kind of like scaling it up a little bit just to kind of work with. And we're going to keep that for now. And then we're going to talk about maybe another article that's in the magazine. And we're going to just put that down here. And we'll just make that white to start with. And we're going to put oops. I kept spelling style. Remember to spell check all the time, guys. Under edit, there's a spelling, check spelling. I think mine is set up to automatically kind of give me a little red line underneath when I spell something wrong. Let me just see. No, it didn't. I thought it did. I thought I had it preset, but make sure you always spell check, guys. Trust me, I've seen a lot of mistakes. I've all made them. We've all made them, but check that. Nothing worse than kind of getting a document that's got a spelling error. Nothing worse than getting a spelling error on something like maybe like a resume. So really be careful of those kind of things. Don't take the extra 2 minutes. Really, that's all it is. Go through and spell check your documents. It makes a big difference, and it will definitely be the better impression. Okay, so imagine you're getting paid, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to work on this magazine, whatever it is. This is your job, whether it's full time or freelance, and you spell something wrong. And who are they going to blame? They're going to blame you. So even if they gave it to you spelled wrong, there's really no excuse. I mean, really, the only time I can say, okay, I'll give you a mulligan or a pass, is if some kind of very scientific word, and they spelled it wrong, and therefore I wouldn't necessarily know what the scientific word is for, I don't know, city pigeon, right? There's some scientific word for that. I don't know what that is. So if they gave me that copy and it was spelled wrong, they really wouldn't blame me. It would be whoever wrote that article and spelled it wrong to get go. But if it's something like Europe and you spelled it wrong, they're going to come back to you. Whether they did it or not, it doesn't matter. That's something you should be checking. So you always do a spell check and always kind of check those things out. So we've got the couple of articles that we're going to find in our magazine. We got one is living on the moon, and one is flying to Europe in style. And we can even put the third one in. We're just going to say we're working with three articles that we're going to do, and I'm going to call this one so it's something about stars in the night. And again, oftentimes you'll find something like that where that one was yellow, this one might be white, or it might be even in that kind of magenta color that we're working with up in here. or cyan color, I should say. You know, so feel free to play around a little bit. Magazines let you have a little character. You know, some are obviously more playful. Some get a little bit obnoxious with so much stuff going on. And I know you've seen these at the newsstands. Some are quite sophisticated and clean. So it really depends on the publication that you're dealing with, and that kind of feel that you're trying to instill with that. And I might even make this one a little bit larger. So you don't have to keep, you know, one at the same size. You can have fun and move around with these typefaces. Okay, so you don't have to be consistent on all of them. Okay, and even if you want this to be a different typeface altogether, you'll see I'll make it a new typeface. It's still going to work. Let me find something. Never like the script too much. We'll just pick that for now. So even here, and then there's a different type of face. So we got a serif up here. We've got a sans serif here. It still works. Okay. And I'm going to click both of those, and I want to make sure they're aligned. It's up underneath my bar here, I think. Boop, boop, boop. I want those to be aligned to the right. Okay, and they are. Okay. And I'm going to save as I'm going. So I want to save because we're working on this. And at this point, I'm kind of done my cover. Most times you don't find things like page numbers on the cover, like page 22 or page 14, or occasionally, but most times you don't. So that'll be in the index, and we're not going to work on an index for this. We're going to get right into the articles, but that's there. So the other thing they're going to find typically near the UPC is typically a price, right? Because you want to know how much that magazine is going to cost you. The magazines get kind of expensive sometimes. I don't know why, but they do. And we're going to be here, and I'm going to make that white also. No, I don't want the fill there. Highlight the type. Get that type just again the white because we're against this background. And I'm just going to line that up here on top of that box, and I know the barcode is going to go in there shortly. Okay, and we're going to say we're good for this. All right, we're going to, at this point the cover is pretty good. I might go back and make some changes later, but now we can do this. And at this point now I can start working on articles. You know, and that's what I'm going to call. We could call that, you know, this is the Flying to Europe, and Living on the Moon is kind of a feature article, so that's going to be 3 pages. And then this last one here is going to be on the Starry Nights. That, in this case, going to be article 3. And then I would just simply be finding articles on those, right? And I know, I mean, Living on the Moon, we know no one lives there, but let me just kind of go to Google. I know for a fact somebody has wrote up Living on the Moon. So let me just find an article. Institute of Physics, Space Magazine. What would it be like to live on the moon? So it's the same thing that we just did, right? Now it's instead of what would it be like, we just had Living on the Moon as our story. And then we're going to just take this story and we're going to paste it in and we're going to start to lay it out. So we're going to do that next class, and we'll get into some of the article layouts. But as you can see, it all exists. It's just a matter of me kind of bringing it together, getting the article in, and not having all this other this unnecessarily stuff, these other articles and stuff like that. So, boom. You know, and then just kind of copy and paste it. So I'm gonna, come on, they want me to buy something. Popping ups. I hate pop-ups. I try to avoid pop-ups. even on my own websites, I try to build them so they don't have too many pop-ups. If I don't like it, that means somebody else doesn't like it. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come over to InDesign here again. I'm just going to make a text article here, text box. I'm going to paste that in. Where'd it go? Okay, so we have the article here. Let me get out of preview mode. That's why it was wigging me out. So we can come back in and we're going to format that come next class, and we'll take a look at that. And it's going to have some stuff in there. The videos, obviously, we don't want that. So, you know, we have to come back through and edit a little bit because we're pulling things off the internet. You know, here is kind of an infographic title. We don't want that. But again, we're going to want article or images. So, you know, there's no reason we cannot, you know, take some articles with images or find our own images use. This looks like it's just kind of copy. So a little bit of editing, guys, nothing major. And we'll go through that and we'll finish that up come next time as we start to lay out articles. Let me just save it for now and we'll find images of that. And maybe there's a, that's kind of a nice picture here too. So I'm just going to grab this and drop it over here just to see if that'll work. Again, because I'm kind of working this up, I'm not worried about the linking. And in fact, we're going to have to make that an embedded image because it came from a website. So we'll want that to be embedded as we go. Okay, so that's there. Get back to my page. Okay. All right, questions, guys, so far?
No, sir. Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. If your source is in Japanese, Chinese, yeah. I mean, if you have an article that's on Japanese or Chinese, yeah, you feel free to format it the way it would be if you were reading in Japanese or Chinese. I don't read Japanese or Chinese, but we can talk about that. That's kind of great to talk about, do some stuff, because I'd like to look at that and see, because correct me if I'm wrong, Last, doesn't it go vertically too? Or is it horizontal from right to left, or is it right to left, but also vertically?
Yes, you're correct, Professor. I used to do closed captions, and all the Japanese subtitles were vertical.
Vertical, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, definitely you guys can use another language. That's not a problem. You know, again, not really a big thing here, but as you start to get into working on portfolios and those kind of things, I think it's fine to show you understand foreign languages. And this is kind of a nice way to kind of sneak it in also. You know, that you're in, you know, Chinese or you know Spanish. And I say, you know, share that information. Because a lot of times you don't think, oh, Spanish is a big deal because you've been speaking Spanish your whole life, you know, and you speak English, so you're bilingual, but it is a big deal. I'm not bilingual. My French is kind of there. It's gone away. I lived in France for a year, but that was 20 years ago. So that's kind of an important aspect when you start to get hired, is you can do those things in that second language. So it's kind of a nice way to say, hey, I speak Spanish, or I know Chinese or Japanese, is if you have something that's kind of in that, whether it be an article or kind of a postcard or an advertisement or something like that. I think that's kind of cool. And so don't downplay what you are and what you're about. Those are important aspects that make you you. You know, so, you know, in many ways, sell those. Okay, because a lot of times we kind of want to hide those, but I would say don't hide them. Again, use them as as a strength that you have over somebody else who doesn't. And you know, having two languages, especially and whether it be an Asian language or Spanish, are big. I mean, if you're big, if you know Dutch, fine, put it down. But it's not like there's a lot of need for people that can do typesetting in Dutch. But you never know. There is. I mean, obviously we do stuff in many languages now. So, um, but Spanish is good. The Chinese languages, Japanese, all that is good to have. So if you know it, by all means, feel free to work it into your projects here. It'd be kind of cool. All right. Other questions? So I will get this, the early mock-up with cover article. I'll put that up on the website. It might have these, it'll have these files in there too, but don't worry about it. So I'll put that up onto the website along with today's lectures. And did I put up last Thursday's or did I not do that yet? Did I mention I got the grades done? I'm so happy with myself.
I saw my iPad blowing up with the notification
Oh,
that
it
the
did.
grades were in. So yeah.
Ditto. Yeah, same here.
All right.
Say.
And like I said, if anybody's missing something, just let me know or send it over. We'll get those updated. There we go. What did we do last? 22nd. So I think we are up to date. All right, so I got to put up today's class, and I'll put up the InDesign kind of template, kind of the layout that we just did. All right, so that's the website. So, all right. Anybody come in late? Go down here. Cole came in. Okay, so that's pretty much everybody. All right. So right now, again, we're going to start to work on it. I'll give you that document. But again, now start to think about, and hopefully you finalize what you kind of want to do for your magazine subject. I would, again, start getting images, start thinking about what articles you're going to be doing. You can start to work up the cover in Photoshop if you'd like. You can work on that masthead, which is, again, the naming. It's typically at the top of the magazine. So there's things you can start to do. And again, if you have work or projects that are due, get those to me. There's a couple holes in here where people are missing a few items. So like I said, just get that to me. It's not a rush, but work on those so you're getting the points for those. There. What do we got down here? Great questions.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
So, for the magazine, do we have to create anything we want?
Yeah, you can use an existing title if you want, but it's so easy just kind of make up a name of the magazine, right? Pick a subject you like, and then again we're going to put in articles. So today I made up that Air and Space magazine. I think there is one that exists like that, but I didn't look at it or kind of see what they were doing. I just kind of went with something, and then the articles just kind of came to me, and then I found articles online that match kind of what I'm doing from a title standpoint. So yes, you can make this all up, or you can base this on something real. But I don't want just to like redesigning National Geographic. Does that make sense?
All right.
All right. Other questions? And just so you know, you don't need to make up these. You don't need to write the articles. Someone, do we need to make up the articles? No, just find them. Okay. I mean, it's not an English class where I'm expecting you to write all these articles. If you write and you've got stories or stuff that you've done, by all means, you can do that, right? It can be, your own magazine. You can call it Me Magazine, whatever you want to call it. I'm good with that, but I'm not gonna put that burden on you to, hey, now go out and write, 6-page articles, 6 pages of articles, so you can kind of put that in to a graphic design project. Okay. Other questions? Anything? They said there's a new way we can start to work. Can like look at, let me just see. There's something they were talking about. You can change the view on how you look at things on the screen. So I didn't see anything yet. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Always kind of interesting to figure out what they're doing. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? So check your grades out. If you have questions, let me know. If you still owe some projects, get those in, and we'll get those. Try to keep up on that as they're coming in now, and finalize your idea, your concept for your magazine. Do your research, right? Don't just jump into it. Go and look at some stuff. Spend some time on the internet, just kind of looking at magazines or looking at what you have around your house. Start to kind of figure out your layouts, and that can just be sketches and kind of tweak it out that way. And then we can start building this thing out and building the articles in and the images in. And again, we're going to go through all that as we start to lay this out to give you some examples. All right. Anything else before we?
Are we turning them the whole thing in PDF?
Yeah, it'll be a PDF at the end.
So that's like would be 3 PDF or 4.
No, it'll be one. This is all one. So if when I save like this, let me go back to my share so you can see. If I save this, this will be one PDF. So it doesn't save it as a articles or anything like that. It saves it as one PDF. Okay. And let me just see if I can. What do we call it? Sample moon. So here is the PDF that I made earlier. And I'm going to zoom out so you can see it. So it saved it as one document. There's the cover, the spreads, and then that's the back page. Okay, which
Okay, got it.
Does that make sense? So it's going to all be one. So yeah, you bring in your JPEG cover, okay, or typically, and then you'll do your stuff here. It all saves together as you're working. That will turn in at the end. So right now you want to keep it as an InDesign document, and then we'll save it as a PDF. And I'll go through that as we get closer to turn in. But right now, save it as an InDesign document. So you have everything there. We can keep working it and modifying it. Okay. Other questions? All right. Let me know if you have anything. I'm going to stop the record for now. And then we'll be back on Thursday. And Thursday we'll do a layout, a magazine layout. We'll go through one of them. Just kind of go through and give you ideas on things you need to look for. And again, as you're working on this project, if like, hey, I got my cover, take a look at it. We can look at that. We have time to do this kind of stuff in class. Okay. If we were sitting in the classroom, I would have you guys do this. Like, all right, put your cover up. Let's take a look at it. And we would kind of go through that. So feel free as you get these kind of things done, we can look at them here. We can share your screen, or you can send it to me and we can, upload it that way and take a look. All right.